Hey everyone, today we're going to be taking a look at the cutting kit, which is part of the Monsoon Hardline series of toolkits. They come in two sizes for the two different tube sizes. There's a half-inch 13 millimeter and a 5/8 inch 16 millimeter. Today we're going to be using, well, they're also color coded. The 5/8 is red and the half-inch or 13 millimeter is blue. That's for pro modders who tend to work in both sizes. They can easily tell which size they need to grab off their workbench. The two tube sizes. This is the half-inch or 13 millimeter nominal and the 5/8 inch or 16 millimeter. Again, there's a miter box cutting kit for both the sizes. The kit includes a inside-outside reamer. This is the inside part, that's the outside part. It includes a saw with a special blade that's got teeth designed for cutting smoothly in acrylic. It also includes an extra blade. How you change it, you just push so that the lever pops open. When you go to put the new blade in, you just do it in reverse until it clicks and you're all set. The two blades should probably last you years of modding, depending on how many builds you do, obviously, and how much tube you're cutting, but they'll last quite a while. The procedure or the process is actually pretty straightforward. I'm going to take my miter box. The point of all this is that you want a nice, square, clean, smooth cut in the end of your tube. What I like to do is wrap it in blue painter's tape. We've actually made the inside, I don't know if you noticed when I was moving it around, but the channel in the miter box is actually shaped to the tube. And because there are subtle variations in the outside diameter of tube between manufacturers and even from run to run, we made it very slightly oversized so that you'd also have room for your blue painter's tape. This is just your very basic 3M blue painter's tape. I like to wrap the tube for two reasons. One, it makes the edge cleaner when you're doing your cutting, and it actually holds it into the miter box a little more firmly. I'm just checking to see. I'm just going to keep wrapping until I feel like I've got a decently snug. That's about right there. That just helps hold it in place while you're cutting so that you're not having to do a bunch of other things like pay attention to where the tube's at as opposed to the saw, which you should be paying attention to. The tape also allows you to make it very easily to put marks on your tube so you know where to cut it. If you're not familiar with the miter box, how it works, it basically holds the material in position, and then there's a channel or a notch where the saw blade travels down, and it acts as a guide to make sure you get a nice clean cut on the edge of your tube. Normally, like I said, you'd have made your mark right here somewhere where you're going to do your cut, and you'll notice as we start cutting, it'll be a little bit slow at the beginning, and then as it gets through this first thicker part, it'll pick up speed. The teeth on this saw are not designed to cut very rapidly. They're designed to give you a nice smooth cut. It doesn't take that long, as you'll see, but I'm blessed to have lots and lots of tools, and I have, a chop saw with a special plastic blade in it and a bench top disc sander. I have all the tools you could ever want to cut tube with, and I still tend to like to use this better because by the time you walk out to the garage or the shop or wherever the chop saw is, you get kind of a not nearly as nice a cut. It's louder. This works out to be faster, quieter, and I get better results. And they're pretty reasonably priced at your favorite reseller. Here we go. Basically, you're going to just cut, and you're going to want to kind of keep your eye on the little channel that the saw travels in. You notice right there, I just popped through the top section, and it's sort of gaining speed as we go through. Just take your time, go nice and slow. It's not a race. You'll know when you get to the bottom of the channel, or you'll be able to tell just by the feel of the saw when you've gotten through, like right there it popped through. And also put a piece of paper down on my work surface just to keep it clean. And when I pull the tape off, I'm already 95% right there, probably 90% right there. Once I go after it with the reamer, it'll just be nearly perfect. Before I use the reamer, I actually like to take and you can skip this step, it's up to you, it just depends on what quality of results you want. I like to take some wet dry sandpaper. This is 400. You can use 300, 200, somewhere in there. You don't want too rough and you don't want too smooth, but I like the wet dry paper because it just lasts longer. I just took a little piece of scrap acrylic that I had laying around. You can use a scrap piece of wood, whatever, for a sanding block. And I've got a little bit of water that I'm just going to... The wet dry paper tends to last longer because it uses the water and it keeps the paper cool. Normally you would do this on the edge of your or your table, but because I've got the camera set up where it is, I can't really do that. I'm just going to put another wrap of tape on there to hold it into the miter box. And make sure I've got it pushed all the way down. Got a little bit carried away with the tape there, but you get the idea. Because I don't have the ability to work on the edge of the desk like I would, or my work surface, I'm going to let this piece of 2x4 sort of stand in as the desk. Again, I've just put a little bit of water on my wet dry paper. This is pretty basic stuff. I'm going to hold the sandpaper totally flat against the edge. I'm just going to work on it for about 10 seconds to get a nice smooth cut. I can also look at that and make sure that I'm square the way I want to be, and if I'm not, I can kind of work on one side more than the other. That's basically it. I'm going to wipe that off with my t-shirt here. This is the part where you go ahead and ream it. I've noticed as I watch people work that sometimes they tend to get carried away with the reamer. If you look at the reseller websites, the pictures that are on the product page for the reamer, they show the tube kind of almost sharp into a point. Obviously they do that because they want it to show up in the picture. If you're using a push-in style fitting, you're basically going to put a slightly more of a bevel on the outside edge so that as it pushes in, it works better with the O-rings. If you're using our premium fittings with the lock collar that allow you to have hard lock, you don't really need to get that carried away. You just basically want to break the sharp edges, which is what we're going to do. This is the inside reamer. You just want to keep it nice and square. You don't push too hard. You don't need a whole lot, like I said. That's actually plenty. And then the outside reamer, you're going to kind of do the same thing. Just walk it around about 2 turns. I'm not pushing too hard. It's got a nice, beautiful square edge on the tube. Go ahead and take my tube off. You've probably already done your bends. That's a nice, beautiful, perfect factory edge on the tube. If you have any questions on these kits or any of the other kits, you can visit us at monsooncooling.com or shoot me an email. I'd be happy to help you out.